Thanks so much for still watching Arise News. You're still watching This Week, and I'm Samna Sambo. Now, in response to the protests and the violence that has come with it in some parts of the country, the federal government has beefed up security around major cities and facilities across the country. The government has also instructed vice chancellors of universities in the country to firmly secure their premises. Acting on this directive, the Inspector General of Police, Kaede Egbetokun, at a press conference in Abuja, said all police formations have been put on red alert to forestall further violent protests. And then, of course, we've seen the Amnesty International saying that they want some of the people arrested in Abuja to actually be freed by the police. And meanwhile, the major opposition People's Democratic Party is insisting that President Tinubu should address Nigerians at this moment to help quell the ongoing protests. All right, joining us right now in the studio is the former presidential aide, Obono-Obla, Okoi Obono-Obla on anti-corruption. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, good evening.
And also joining us is the lead director of Speak Out Africa Initiative, Kenneth Ezeh. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you.
So let me start with you, Chief Okoi Obono-Obla. The state of the nation right now, and people are actually saying that President Tinubu should address Nigerians in the midst of what we've seen. What would you say?
Well, I don't know if that will solve the issues we are facing, which is, you know, it has also global dimension. I've been reading about Bangladesh. They had a similar protest, and 150 people died. Today I was reading on BBC, Amnesty International was talking about children, about 30 children below the age of 13 were killed. We also had a similar protest in Uganda. We had a similar protest in Kenya. And then we are facing it in Nigeria. So these issues are of global dimension. You can see that the economy, global economy has already gone down since COVID. And the problem we have in Nigeria is that the lack of trust in government. Because of the way previous governments have behaved, you say one thing and do the other. So that is why a lot of people, particularly young people, they don't have faith in government again. But
yeah, I mean, speaking with them, wouldn't it reduce some of the challenges?
I don't know if speaking with them will they even listen to Mr. President, because the way our youths are behaving now, they don't want to listen to anybody. I'm a traditional ruler in Cross River State, and I know the problems I have with young people when they make up their mind. They are it's not easy to persuade them. I said it is not good. It's erosion of confidence in leadership.
All right.
And if leaders are no longer believe, you know, if the young people don't have confidence in leadership, then we are beginning to go to into the blink of, you know, of something that we cannot handle.
That we haven't even budgeted or planned for.
So we have to be very careful. We have to do a lot to restore the confidence of young people in government and governance. I think the problem is, I will blame the state governors. Our governors are not doing well. I have told you that I have been an activist in Cross River State after the military went back to the barracks. I was a watchdog of the government of Donald Duke, Imoke, Ayade, before I went into politics. And we tried to, what I was trying to do was to be a watchdog for the governors to be accountable, to be transparent. You know, they are not.
All right, I'll just ask you to hold on there. Yes. I mean, there's a lack of transparency. Kenneth, talk to us about this, especially with what's happening in the Southeast. I mean, lots of people surprised why the Southeast is quiet.
Okay, actually, I won't be restricting my comments.
Yeah, I mean, generally, you speak generally, and then
I'm
also saying...
from the position of the civil society organization.
Yeah.
And not just the people you mentioned had called. 2 days ago, we had also written a letter requesting and appealing to Mr. President. That was on day one to quickly address Nigerians, whether those who are in support of the protest or those who are against the protest. And it's not just that, you know, that is why I differ a little from just the recent submission, whether they are going to listen.
Yeah.
It was a request the people, the protesters made that request and said
the
they want to
should
hear,
address the
should
nation.
address them and take, not just addressing. In the address, people will listen with rapt attention to hear at least 2 immediate action that will be taken from that long list. Of course, the protesters themselves had admitted, and they know that there is no way everything is going to happen within the twinkle of an eye. For example, but there are some immediate things that can be done.
And like what?
For example,
what
the main cardinal and the most talked about the issue is the issue about reducing the fuel pump price, which almost affect everything that you can think of. The second is about the bogus, I heard this bogus over 40 cabinet ministers. And the people, in fact, they are even saying,
actually.
Yeah, that's why I say over 40. So they're also talking about reducing that bogus size to a reasonable number, like
I mean, but
37.
how will reducing ministers actually?
That's
what impact will it make so much?
No. That is on the angle about the cost of governance. Now, like I said, the youth, the people are protesting, want their father to talk to them, and I think, I don't know, but I believe that, for example, a lot are going into this. You've just read to the nation now that the police are putting every police force formations on red alert.
Yeah.
You know, as if we are preparing to war. This can be averted. A statement, an address by Mr. President, and an action on taking an action on 1 or 2 of those lists will quell immediately. You will see the same protesters. In fact, one of the protesters in Abuja from the stadium said, when that happens, the same protesters here will start singing song from Mr. President.
All right.
So
but you would have heard him actually saying that there's erosion of public trust. Most people don't believe their leaders. I mean, I've seen even religious clerics being asked to stay away from this protest because it's about hunger and corruption in Nigeria.
And it's because they want to hear the man that has the mandate of the people.
Okay.
Does it not worry you people that some of these protesters voted for Mr. President?
Yeah.
So he has their mandate. They don't want to hear cabinet, because no cabinet, no minister has the mandate of the Nigerian people. They are appointees. So if Mr. President can talk to them, the same way he spoke to people during election, during campaign, and said, my children, I am already doing this. It's even possible Mr. President are doing a lot already, but it's being communicated through the aides. And this time around, they want to hear their father speak to them and taking action on 1, 2 of those needs, and you will see the whole everything well done. So let's not give opportunity.
Chief Okoi, Obono-Obla, let's talk about how the presidential aides and government ministers have not been heard so much in the midst of what's going on. What exactly is going on in government? People are asking.
I'm not in government.
You're not, but you've had presidential experience.
Yeah.
Or not this kind of thing before. If you work in the presidency, I mean, what's the mood like in government?
Well, it all depends on the kind of person you are working with. Some people may not like it being so forward. I had issues with people I was working with because they thought I was too forward. So maybe that is why they are holding back. But I would say that they are leaders in their own rights. So every leader should talk to the people. Not only the ministers, not only the presidential aides. Everybody should be involved. The governors who are even more at the grassroots. If we are talking about Nigeria, we are talking about 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The federal government is just in charge of the federal government, Federal Capital Territory. Yeah. I think the governors have a lot of work to do, and they should do it. The governors should be going around the local government areas, I'll be talking to the people because they are closer to the people than Abuja. So the governors should do that. And every leader, the senators, the House members of the House of Reps, and also the State Assembly, the local government chairman, the clergy, traditional rulers. Yeah,
I mean, you are one, and yes. I mean, I'm just being told we don't have enough time. I would have really loved you to speak in your tribal, in your language, as a means of trying to communicate to people.
Should be involved in talking to the people. As I said, we have to restore confidence of Nigerians to believe in government, to believe what the government says we want to do. That confidence has been eroded, and that is what is responsible for the young people who are hot-headed.
Again.
Yes, And I want to say, one thing that is disturbing is one of the placards I saw in Gombe on TV, the demonstrators in Gombe, asking for a return to military rule.
Yeah.
They were advocating for, a return of the military back to politics. And I find it very strange, maybe because I took part in the struggle to have military rule. Why we should be advocating for military rule after 25 years?
Of course, I mean, there's no one who would be advocating,
exactly.
that.
Because they were, maybe those who were born between 1989 to 2002, they didn't experience military rule. And most of the problems we are facing today is like a legacy, or even the corruption we are talking about.
All right. Unfortunately, I'm being told that we do not have enough time, gentlemen.
Exactly.
But the conversation continues. What would you say, very quickly to young people now, to the protesters who are looting, in 30 seconds?
Of course, those who are looting, of course, are not part of the protesters. They are just using this opportunity to appeal to Mr. President to please talk to Nigerians, talk to your children. They need to hear him. They need to see some actions taken. And the Health NBA, Nigeria Medical Association, please go ahead, treat any protesters. The lawyers, NBA, I commend them for the actions. Go ahead. It is Nigeria. It's a family affair.
All right, Kenneth Ezeh, we must thank you so much for that voice of reason, because you have insisted that President Tinubu needs to speak to Nigerians. We must thank you so much for having some time to come here in the midst of what's happening. And of course, our own Chief Okoi, Obono-Obla, I mean, you said something very important. We do not have the time to go back to the issues of talking of going back to the dark days. So those who are advocating military rule have to stay back. Well, that's the much we can take right now. I'm Somna Sambo. Thank you for watching.